My name's Anita, and I work at Cashmere Connections, a family owned textile manufacturing business in Bacchus Marsh. Today, I'd like to talk about the positive outcomes produced within the Australian textile industry by buying Australian made products and the pitfalls that are often faced by the people trying to develop them. Over the last few years, we've seen a change in buying habits towards Australian made. This shift has created opportunities in the industry that weren't there a few years ago. It has encouraged textile manufacturing and a greater diversity in the products available to consumers. Since the abolishment of the textile tariffs in the 1980s, the Australian industry has been unable to compete on price with countries with lower wage, energy, and overhead costs. The Australian textile industry contracted dramatically during the 1980s and 90s as more and more production went offshore. The Australian textile processors who have remained have made a niche for themselves processing specialty products that people are unable to get from overseas bulk processors. Recently, consumers have started to become more aware of where their products come from and the processes they go through, whether it be the addition of environmentally toxic chemicals in processing or the use of workers paid so little that they have no hope of ever rising above extreme poverty. This has created a behavioural shift in some consumers away from cheap disposable products to quality, sustainable, and ethical products. Consumers have started looking to the farm gate for their products, wanting to know exactly where they've come from. They are asking, is it sustainable and was it ethically produced? Therefore, traceability is becoming more and more important to consumers and designers alike. The Australian industry is uniquely situated to ensure traceability of the products it's processing. The mini mills can often trace a single fleece through their lines, and the bigger processors are able to track a bale. This is not possible in bigger mills overseas, not because they have poorer work practices, but because of the sheer scale of their processing lines. Their factories are a sight to behold, with row and upon row of machinery that make our big card look tiny. To them, tracking a single bale is the same as us trying to track a fleece. There is no hope. Your Australian wool often becomes a mixture of wool from everywhere. Farmers wanting to sell products made from fibre they've produced have become the trailblazers in the revival of the Australian industry. They approached a few manufacturers left in Australia and started to piece together a system to get their fibre processed from paddock to product. Manufacturers started to collaborate with each other, and slowly it became possible to get products made in Australia on a larger scale. Every person or business who develops a new supply chain or a new product takes a huge risk. There is a large monetary outlay which are then tied up in product until it sells. There is the possibility that the product either won't sell or won't work, and therefore you've put a lot of money into something that will never produce a viable return. For every product out there that is made in Australia, there are probably 5 or 6 that imply that they're Australian made and charge accordingly. This is damaging to the Australian textile industry as it undermines its existence. It has led to a loss of consumer confidence in all claims of Australian made. It also means that locally grown and manufactured products are competing against cheaply produced products that can undercut them and make much bigger profits. I once spoke to a retailer selling Chinese made products with the implication that they were made in Australia. They expected to have a 200% markup on their product. To compete, a retailer selling Australian made products will often have markups as low as 5 to 10%. So, how do you as a consumer help the Australian textile industry continue to produce wonderful Australian made innovative products when the industry is hard to navigate even for those who know it well? While many sellers will imply that something is Australian made when it's not, I doubt many would outright lie about this. Simply asking if the fibre has left the country at any stage between harvesting to point of sale should give you your answer. If a seller tries to avoid the question or gives you a non answer and you truly want to buy Australian made product, take your business elsewhere. There are also groups such as the Australian Fibre Collective who vet products licensed with them and offer a guarantee that they'll be 100% Australian. If you are genuine about supporting the local industry, you should also consider smaller producers who have only a few products from their own animals or single source products. The people who have invested in these products are often the people who have driven the revival of the Australian industry and deserve your support. By making the effort to buy Australian made, you are supporting continued innovation, development of new supply chains, better livelihoods for farmers, small business, and your money stays in Australia. I think if we all took an honest look at our clothing, craft supplies, homewares, etc., we could all say that we have more than we ever need. While it always makes us feel good to get a bargain, maybe next time we should spend that little bit extra and buy something special, something of quality, something sustainable with a history you can trace. If you do this, you will ensure that the Australian fibre producers and textile manufacturers will continue to exist and create exciting, sustainable products for you and others.